This is Access LaPorte County, Channel 97. Coming up next is the May 12th meeting of the Michigan City Board of Aviation Commissioners. You can find more information for this meeting at www.accesslaportecounty.org.
To order the May 12th, 2022 monthly meeting of the Board of Aviation Commissioners of Michigan City. Members present, myself, Kirk Hunter, T.Y. Okerson, and Jeff Bartlett. Also present, we have Jessica Ward and Gene Simmons from City Council and Andrew Maximovich from the FNS. Greg is not present, but we have a quorum. Anybody get a chance to read the minutes of the March meeting?
Yes.
Yes. Any changes or anything you notice?
I second that motion. I make a motion that we approve those minutes for March. Second.
All in favor? Aye. Motion carried. Okay. Account balances.
Alrighty. So all of our account balances are within our projected monthly balances, with building repair being the exception still, same thing I've talked about. We are going to need a transfer into that account before the end of the year, which at this point can be a minor transfer. Remember, in that third set of accounts, we can transfer in between them without having to get council approval. So right now, I think that we're going to be okay doing that. We are going to have the council approve our local matches for AIP 27 and the BIL federal money that we are going to apply for. So I will say that we did just have a meeting in the controller's office to talk about like all of our grants, to make sure that those are all squared away, and our local matches and everything. So we're going to be on the council agenda for the first meeting in June as a resolution to approve, because we already have money appropriated for our runway extension project. So we're going to use that money, but you just have to approve us using that money for our local grant matches. They're going to be 5% is going to be the local grant matches for both of those. So those are going to be in a resolution for the council at the beginning of June, first meeting in June. So we have used 41% of our aviation fuel budget, with the cost of fuel being so high. So I really have to keep my eye on that account. And I did talk a little bit to the controller's office about that building repair fund. I just talked about how we, own that hangar, and we have like somebody running it now, as in Flight School, Flight Saga. So I was letting them know that it's important that we make the repairs in timely fashions and stuff. And so she said with the revenue that we're gonna have, because we rent it out, so with that revenue, we'll be able to put that, that'll be added on to like make sure that we have enough to cover, and up our operating budget next week for building, or next year for building repairs. So that'll be in the budget.
But for this year, where are you going to take it from?
I'm just going to have to move money around in that third set of accounts. So it's just kind of like a move a little from here, move a little from there.
Okay.
To make sure that I cover everything. And I mean, every single year we have to move money around. Like our insurance accounts are always low, we gotta move money into those. So we always have a little wiggle room in those accounts to move things around. You only need to ask the council for approval if you're moving from like this first section that's separate from the second, separate from the third. That's when we have to ask for council approval to do that. But if it's in the same set of accounts, then you can move them around.
Okay.
So that's kind of how that works. So we're good there, just gotta watch the fuel. We have to watch the fuel. So, I mean, there's nothing we can do about fuel prices, and we have to have fuel, so we're gonna keep purchasing it, but we might need, if we have to get an appropriation from the council to up our fuel fund, we may need to do that, but we would just prove our fuel revenues will cover the additional appropriation in the fuel fund.
Well, there wouldn't be any reason for the council not to approve that, wouldn't there?
That's a Gene question, and I doubt
You
it.
don't lose that,
No.
Because, that's our revenue.
Operation.
Yeah, that's it. It's like our revenue. We would, of course, I'm assuming it would be fine.
Fuel cells?
Fuel sales. Overall, we sold 3,976.5 gallons of 100 low lead, 1,166.5 gallons of Jet A, and 233.9 gallons of Swift Fuel in April. Our total gallons of fuel sold are up 67% year to date. We have been slammed is an understatement. We have used 40, I already talked about that, our fuel fund. So our self-service 100 low lead price is $5.32, full service is $5.47 per gallon. Our Jet A is $3.70 for both self and full service. And our self-service UL 94 right now is set at $4.43, but it is going to increase with our next load. And we are currently out of that fuel. We just ran out on Monday. So when we get it next, I'll talk about that a little bit later, but when we get, they wanted to send it up for $7 a gallon before taxes, and I said,
Good Lord.
nope, that's not gonna work for me.
So what are we thinking about in terms of price now?
So I negotiated them down to $5.25, but that's pre-tax, so that's not even the federal taxes we pay on it, plus the aviation excise fuel tax is 20 cents added on, plus a penny at least for our markup, if, you know. So, it is probably gonna be in the $5.60 to $5.70 range, is my guess, once I get it. So better than $7 a gallon, and I think if it's like close to where aviation fuel is in general, I mean, if you look at where everybody is. I mean, for avgas, I mean, $5.47, $5.35, $5.95. You know, I mean, it's like, it's gonna be pretty close to around where avgas is. And every time one of us goes up, the other airports go up, and it's like, everyone's watching everyone else to raise their price, you know, and it's like, I know LaPorte and I mean, they have they're set lower than they normally do, because ours was $1 less than this before we got this load. So, you know, it's just a mess right now, so.
You probably know this, if you're running UL 94, can you mix that with 100 low lead? You can?
Can mix it with anything, auto gas, yeah.
Nice.
So there's our fuel sales, but yeah, we're doing great in fuel sales. 67% increase.
Tell us about Flight Sergeant, Jessica, please.
I will. Okay. So, Flight Saga Inc. update. They are up and running. They have 9 active students.
How many?
9.
Okay.
And they also have renters for their aircraft. They are currently struggling with instructor availability. They have 5 instructors, but their availability has been inconsistent. Their goal is to have a definitive schedule of availability so students can plan 3 to 4 weeks ahead. They're hoping to have their signs up on the fence and outside their building within the next week or so. But Thor is hesitant to do more marketing until he has the instructor schedule and availability more certain, saying that that's the single most important issue right now related to his flight school. He has heard that other flight schools in the area are also struggling with the same instructors and the same availability, but Flight Saga hasn't turned down any students so far, but he does have a few students who can't fly as often as they want to, because he doesn't have the instructor availability. So that's an update on them. They're 9 students, and they haven't even advertised. Isn't that amazing?
What's he charge an hour?
I don't know. I haven't gotten any information on how he is planning on, that's like with the whole advertising thing. He's gonna give me stuff to post on the website, and he's gonna make all of his, you know, all the rates public and all that stuff, but I haven't had any of that. He doesn't have business cards yet because he's got 9 students without advertising.
Yeah, does he have any instructor there at all?
He has 5 instructors.
Okay, so the problem is they're not available for.
Correct, or they call in sick. They're all young, going through, you know what I mean?
puberty.
So they're sick. I don't feel like it today. It's a nice day out and I want to go hang out at the beach. It's, you know what I mean? It's just whatever it is. So he said that he has had a talk with them about, you know, how important it is, like for, you know, business, customer relationship, to make sure when you say you're available to actually be there.
It's called professionalism.
Yeah, professionalism. They're struggling with that. So
I wonder if he's trying to tap into the other instructors and other systems, like John's instructors.
Yeah, he
and
uses-
he's tapping into Brad's instructor, so that's gonna be a conflict for him.
Yeah, he's using, I mean, it's like they can apply wherever the instructors want to
Yeah.
apply, so if they want to work for his business, they can. But it's just the problem that there's such a shortage of them, that this whole area is using the same ones that are applying for all these businesses, because there's such a
I
shortage.
got it. It's
So that's,
crazy.
yeah. So that's an update there, but he's happy. I mean, with his 9 students, everything's going well. He's just working through the whole instructor availability.
Has he even done first flights? Has he started the process?
Yeah, he has done a couple. I know he has, because, yeah, even Greg. Greg had a neighbor's daughter or something that wanted to get in aviation, and he did a first flight for them and stuff, so. And I know he was tapping into Dan Tanis too, trying to use Dan Tanis for, as instructor and doing some stuff. John Lamberlin, I mean, he owns, he obviously does the aircraft maintenance. He's also a pilot, for charter, and he has been flying as an instructor for Thor's business, because that's how much Thor is desperate.
Okay.
So he's been taking some students when other instructors, they call in sick.
I wonder if we could tap the universities. They've got some graduates coming up. Maybe at the aviation schools or
Yes.
area. At least for the summer, you'd get 3 or 4 months.
Lewis University has.
I know Andrew's right here.
You do Valpo,
Yeah.
and you got some other ones that once they graduate,
Has a flight.
they have a flight school.
I don't think
No.
They go
No,
to
they-
American
John-
Eagle or something like that.
John works with them, but they don't have a flight school, so their flight school would be John and Joy's school there, Eagle. Maybe Purdue, Bay Campus.
I'm talking about, he's Eric Taylor, he's the chief pilot for the university. Because that's what they do. They do that contract work for the American Flyers or something over there. But at least if they got people graduating, they're going to get jobs. They're not going to get a job at the regionals right away, so they can fly and try.
Build
Yeah.
hours that way.
And that's mostly what we're
See if
really.
Thor wants to reach out to those people, at least throw some feelers out there and see if, people want to come up here and start flying.
Even John Lamberlin was talking about for just mechanics. He needs to hire 2 more, mechanics, and he can't find any. So he's gonna have to go up to Andrews or something and do job fairs, look for people, because they're going to UPS and things like that. They offer so much. It's it's hard for these businesses, small businesses at these airports to get, mechanics that way instead of, them going somewhere else. So he said that he's short 2 mechanics right now. And it's hard for them to keep up. And Gary, LaPorte, and here, they have 3 of them, and they're just running ragged. So.
Okay, well, thank you.
How about the rental hangar truck?
All right, so, Marquis Electric, they came out, they installed the new LED lighting that we talked about when, under emergency conditions, when that fixture fell off the ceiling. So, I am gonna watch our accounts towards the end of the year, because if we have any extra money to encumber, I wanna encumber it to put 2 more of those light fixtures in the center. We went out and looked, and it's bright, in there, but it would be way better if they're kind of way on the outside. And so if we had 2 in the center, I think that would be really good, so, I'm looking to hopefully be able to encumber a little bit of money for that work from, just the rent and stuff that they pay, and using that money. Michigan City Fire Department Airport Fire Safety Training. So I worked with Fire Department Training Officer William Sontag, and all the Michigan City Department firefighters came out to the airport last week of April for airport familiarization training. The sessions were broken into 2 sessions a day, 9 and 11. They had about 20 to 25 firefighters come to each one. We talked about airfield, different aircraft on the airfield, skydive injuries. We went over fueling operations, types of fuel we have here, aircraft fire safety information, and also ballistic parachutes, because those are really important for them to know about in serious aircraft and other aircraft that they're getting retrofitted in. So it was really well. It went really well. We haven't done that since before COVID, so I think it's been at least 3 or 4 years since we've had the firefighters out here for that. So it was really nice to have them come out. And we just talked about, the airfield safety in general of, making sure that you know if there's a skydiver that's injured in the field across there, that the runway's still active, things like that, that people don't realize. You know, if an airplane goes off the end in that field, the runway's still active. You know, we don't close the runway for that. So just things like that, I mean, you don't know unless you come out and get familiar with it. So they have the Knox box on the building. It's got keys to all of our fences. It's got gate codes. It has my numbers and everything in it. So they have that available too. And they're ready to go for another year or two.
Did they ever do a mock scenario? Like to simulate a plane coming in to land, somebody volunteer and...
So we didn't exactly do like a mock scenario, but we did have aircraft on the ramp and we went down to hangars. Bill Isley was nice enough to let us into his hangar. And so some of the firefighters got to see his aircraft in there and talk about, you know, different situations, you know, which jet fuel and avgas and things like that. We went into the jet hangar that we have here. We got to see that. Skydive was here the first day, so we got to go around the PAC 750 and check that out and, you know, talk about different injuries. They were available that day to do that. So just different. We just went for a walk. We went into Flight Saga's hangar and we talked about, you know, things in there. And I also told him, you know, I talked to Thor about it and asked Thor if he would be willing to do like a public safety kind of like firefighter like event where they can come out for like some sort of open house and talk, because a lot of them, you know, were interested, like, oh, it'd be cool to fly a plane, right, TY? It'd be so fun. And a lot of them were talking about maybe getting involved in aviation. And so Thor said that he'd like open up the simulator and they could all come for like an open house type thing. Yeah, where they could check out the simulator, talk about rates, and go out for a ride if they want to, and see if it's something that interests them. So yeah, so that'd be really cool.
Do their trucks, do they instruct them that, I don't know if their trucks, the fire department's trucks are capable of going through the fences? Because I know it.
No, they have
Very larger
to cut or whatever.
Okay.
They'll cut open like the fence. I'm sure anything could really go through the fence though.
Probably, yeah.
But yeah, I told him like the skydive entrance, that's easy cut because it's just a lock to get through that way. Because when we have a power outage, our gate doesn't open. You can't use the code to get in. So if there's any sort of power outage, everybody's got to go through that skydive gate because that's the only way to get in and out of here really from the airfield, like hangar tenants and stuff.
You mean driving? Like they would drive through the fence?
Yeah, remember it was American Airlines had a crash at Little Rock years ago. And by the time they even figured it out, the crash that occurred had gone through. The fire department went out there and they said, well, gee whiz, we don't have the keys. So they're looking for it and there are people, you know.
That would happen. They're very comfortable driving through fences, I'll just say.
Okay, good.
After meeting with all of them, for sure.
Good.
So then I had Skydive Windy City, Chicago update, just in case Troy wasn't gonna make it, but he's here. Hello.
Right.
Do you wanna wait till after my report and have him talk kind of a little bit?
No, since we're on, let's talk.
All right, Troy.
How are you? Well, got some new faces here. That might be a new face for some of you too. She's a new face and she's a little anxious. Well, we had a pretty busy year last year, probably about 20% over what we'd ever done. And across the industry, it was the same thing for everybody. I don't know where all this money's coming from, but it was kind of nice to have some of it coming our way. Everything worked really smoothly with the airport here. Kind of left us in a little situation where, you know, do we staff up because everyone just really got beat up doing all the extra work. So we brought on another person this year to help. Hopefully the volume will stay up. If not, you know, it'll be the same across the industry pretty much. I wanted to start charging admission from the skydive gate if the power's out.
Nice try.
And I think we let a lot of people in there when that gate doesn't work or something like that. We let people through. I don't know if everybody has that combination tire lock or not, but back to the skydive, you know, we're just kind of cruising along. Happy to be here on the field. We got a pack again finally. I've switched I've kind of ended the partnership I had with the guy I've been leasing from or with for the last few years. I started with a new guy. I was concerned about maintenance issues and some stuff like that. And I just can't have plane falling apart. Can't be feeling like I'm worried, you know?
Yeah, we
I'll go to
pilot
bed at night and know that I've done everything I can, so.
too. Yeah, we pilot too, right?
Yeah, this pilot's actually, guy took me on my second tandem and my first solo jump. So, back at Scott, Illinois, 1999. And he started flying, he quit jumping in like 2001, right after 9/11. And then he started flying, and so he's come here, he's got the hours, and he's doing pretty well. I think what else? No big projects or anything right now.
Signs you're gonna put up.
Yeah, we took down the signs. Jessica requested it, you know, one of the south. It was getting pretty bad. It's kind of good that we got a little nudge there. Yeah, I'm working on it. I need to get with the Saga, or was it Flight Saga? And get a sign made up that Jessica and I talked about having all three of the businesses on one sign down there. Just do it all together. I've got a guy that can print the graphics, you know, I've got the sign boards that I can, you know, put the graphics on, because those are some of your goal. And then we can put it back up. But I haven't talked with him, it sounds like he's, like me, pretty busy. So I feel like I'm getting pulled, you know, 10 ways to Sunday, so that's just kind of how it is.
How you been so far year to date?
This year has been slow. I mean, we had bad weather though in April.
It was horrible.
I mean, every year we come in and we think, oh, this is the worst April ever, but it's not.
Yeah.
But this year it was cold and blustery and volume was way down, but I think it was down for everybody. You know, I haven't really talked to, you know, some other of my peers about it, but, you know, we're picking up again. We did 50 last Saturday, which was almost like the first weekend we had jumpable conditions the whole weekend. And we changed, we were doing a thing where we were closed 4 days. That was a pretty silly plan, you know, when we're getting plenty of weather days off as it is, so we switched to where we're just open all the time and for now, and then we'll get a scheduled day off once things get busier. But yeah, we kind of said that's not kind of working because every time we had a great day, we were off. And that's not how you put money in the bank. It's not how
You were doing that to give the workers a little break, right? I mean,
well, what we're trying to do is micromanage too much, and that's what I come up with. We're trying to funnel everybody in, so we're not starting the airplane 100 times a week. We're not, you know, doing all these flights with 1 or 2 people on them, trying to be as efficient as possible. I'd like my carbon footprint to be as small as I can. You know, there's some things I can't avoid. We try and run as efficiently as possible, but there we're getting into trying to micromanage it too much, and then we're micromanaging ourselves right out of business. Because if you're closed, you know, you're closed. They just go somewhere else. So I don't think we're gonna be doing that anymore, but seemed like a good idea when we thought of it, but it just didn't work out as well. But yeah, I mean, things are cruising right along.
Are you gonna put the big arrow back up and that?
Yeah, we still got that blow-up arrow, which works out pretty well. You know, that was just a kind of an impulse buy. There was a kid here that was jumping, and he worked for the company, and we got that. That was one of the demos and it's just a big inflatable arrow. I think it's 26 feet long, and it's, you know, probably about 3 feet in diameter. You know, you see it from anywhere. And we point it, we'll lock it down to a wind direction if the wind's, you know, intermittent or kind of light and variable, so that, you know, it's not moving around, but we can let it just windmill, you know, as well. So, but we haven't done that yet. We pretty much just tie it down. But I just got that to avoid, hopefully we avoid some head-on collision kind of situations. We don't have much here because we don't have a lot of licensed jumpers that come here. We've got a couple of my peers that have drop zones in Chicagoland, and they kind of cater to that. You know, they've got otters and they're big into the licensed jumpers, and I'm okay with we do tandems well. They do that well, and I think there's enough in the market for both of us to do what we do best, so.
Well, we're glad you're here. It's a good fit.
If we can get the airspace fixed, you know, by fixed, I mean, we can get full altitude, get 14,000, then we'd go gangbusters. I mean, we pull in a lot of licensed people.
What are you restricted to right now?
Really 10.5, but 11 MSL, because, you know, the Watson stars come across from 12.
No.
So, and it's right over the top.
Yeah, it's over my house.
Yeah,
I see
you
that all
can
the
kind of
time.
play with them. They let you get in there and kind of jump in between, but it's just too hazardous and it takes too much time.
Yeah.
Sometimes you sit up there and you wait up there for 3 minutes. And all that's, if you do that 4 or 5 times a day, that's another 2 loads.
Because they usually keep us in there at 11,000 crossing the
Yeah.
halls and all the other ones too.
Figure eventually the airlines will want to change it for one reason or another, then, we'll have our voice. So,
Yeah.
but if that happens, that'd be in and out probably next week. I mean, really, we've got a beautiful place here.
No, yeah.
It's so amazing, that, people will want to jump here. So.
Right.
Where do most of your jumpers come from? Do they come from Illinois or?
Chicago. I'd say 92% probably of our business is Chicago proper. I mean, really.
That's because I advertised it.
And we maybe get some more licensed jumpers this year too, because everyone's raised their rates on licensed lift tickets from like $26, $27 to like $35.
Wow.
And we haven't changed ours. Don't really need to, because we don't really get a lot, but I think that, they know that we don't get full altitude, and that's why they kind of go where they can get that, which I understand. But hopefully, we might get a few more, because we've got plenty of slots, so it'd be nice to get a few of them.
All right.
Thank you.
Sure, thank you.
That's good.
Airport.
Me.
Hangar door.
Airport hangar door support arms installation update. Who remembers that? Anyone?
I do.
You do? Gosh, it's 2019
That was
is
here.
when I encumbered money. Remember the door was like coming off the building, and so they had to put trusses up and they had to pull the whole overhead door back to the frame. We all remember that. Good. So the money's still there, and so I reached back out to Logan Ramsey and I said, hey, what about those support arms? Because that was part of it. He has not been paid for that work because part of it is the support arms. He was having them engineered, then they had to like build them and everything else. So during COVID, they lost so many workers and everything, they didn't have anybody to do it. So now he said they're gonna be up by the end of this month.
Perfect.
That's what he told me. So this will be closed out.
2 weeks.
This will be closed out, and then we'll actually pay him for that. So that's money not coming out of our fund now. It was approved back in 2019, but I'm just happy to have that done. Swift fuel order update. I talked about that a little bit. New Swift fuel should be here on Tuesday. I have heard that plenty of times before, but that's the new date they gave me. We've been out since Monday. They are having fuel truck issues. So the truck that they bring the fuel loads in has been having technical and maintenance difficulties. So I said the price was negotiated from $7 a gallon to $5.25 pre-tax. And that's pretty much it. I just told them there's no way that we could purchase that fuel unless it was close enough to Avgas to where, we're gonna sell it. I don't wanna just sit on load fuel for nothing. So that's the update with that, and that's 1,000 gallons. So I have it NOTAM'd out of service. I have notes over there, and that pump is shut off, so they can't even accidentally run it and get no fuel. The pump is shut off, so they can't use it. Their options are either Avgas or jet fuel. And I said, a lot of people call, no exaggeration, get 5 calls a day. Is Swift fuel back in? Is Swift fuel back in? And I just tell them, check the NOTAM. As soon as the NOTAM comes off that it's out of service, then they know that it's here and they can use it. And I will need to update that price. Airport pavement crack repair ceiling estimate and options. So we do have one estimate now for crack repair. We're doing crack sealing this year. We have an estimate from it from Reseal Co. They changed their name to something else, but it's still kind of the same company. But I found out that our city street department is doing crack sealing in-house now, instead of contracting it out. So I got with Sean, the city maintenance, or he's the head of the street department, and I said, hey, how do you feel about doing airport work? And he goes, what? So I talked to Paul a little bit, and I asked Paul, hey, what do you think about training this guy, our street department to do airport work? He said there are other airports that do use their city street department, but it is a little different than street, and I don't know much about it, but I'll just say it's different because their plows are raised up. Our plows are all the way down, like when we plow snow, but on the street they're like raised up 4 inches, so you can like overfill that rubber stuff stuff, and it's fine on the streets, but here you can't do that at an airport. You have to get it like right in and clear it totally off. So it's a little bit different of an application than what the streets department would be normally trained on what to do. So they probably have like a select group that would come out, you know, and be trained to like actually do our airport crack sealing. So Sean said that he will get back to me and let me know if he feels this year is a good fit to start that. If not, then we'll just, you know, contract it out. We already have the money. The council approved that for us for this year, and so we already have the money for it. I'm just waiting to find out if Sean wants to do it in-house, because that would be even better
If
for
it
the
doesn't work
city.
out this year, that'd be great to train people
Yeah, for the future, yeah.
Perfect.
So Sean told me just give him a week or two, and he'll let me know if they think that they can handle adding that on. And I said, absolutely.
I'm sure there's a YouTube video.
Right. But, and also Paul did give a suggestion. He said that he is almost positive that South Bend Airport or Gary Airport would be totally fine with like them coming over to watch part of the application so they can kind of get their training that way. He thinks that that would be totally fine for him to do. So Sean did say that, you know, that was an option and he would go himself, you know,
Great
that's
idea.
something he would do.
Yeah.
So yeah, so then he'll know by, you know, because they do all their own there,
Yeah.
you know, so that he could just work right with them and, you know,
Perfect.
kind of see how the application's a little bit different, and then come back and then train his specific people to do that.
I just have time for, I'm sorry.
No, I'm saying, nice job.
He
Think about that.
just asked me to give him a couple weeks just to see if he feels like they could do it in-house. And I gave him Paul's number. He's gonna call Paul because Paul, he's a whiz bang. So Paul's gonna tell him kind of how the application is different, and, you know, Sean's just gonna see what kind of materials he would need if it's different than what he does have, things like that. So it's a little
Cleaning
bit
the cracks
extra.
is maybe more extreme on these than,
Yeah, because, and I mean, Paul did say that too. He said that you have to, because you don't want to waste all that rubber stuff and like, because that's what they usually do, like in the street, but here they would have to clean them out. And then you have to put like a sand buffer and all this stuff in there, and then you put the rubber seal on top. So he said that is definitely different too than what they'd be used to. That's part of like the training of what's a little bit different.
Okay.
So I'm waiting on that. So we'll see. Hopefully by next month I, you know, have some sort of answer for that. And then lastly, we have our middle school drone camp. Still working that out. So we're still in the planning stages. Our issue right now is we are waiting on city IT to give us the go-ahead to purchase the equipment that we need. It needs to go through them because these are city funds. The money was donated to the city, therefore it's city funds. They're the ones that need to make the decision. They also have to check and make sure that the software is going to work on the computers that they give us in order to use for the camp. So as soon as we get the go-ahead from the city IT department, we'll be able to get that scheduled and the software ordered and the drones ordered and get started. So that's where we are there on that. But it's still, hopefully will be awesome. Actually, Dave's here too. Dave, you didn't know you were gonna talk today. I'm so happy. Right? But I did actually get an update from him too about the EAA chapter, because I don't know if you guys remember, I talked about them getting the airplanes that they were gonna build, the little ones that, the 5 foot, they're about 5 feet, I think. They were gonna build those. So the EAA chapter gave them to go ahead to purchase the actual aircraft. So I know that those are coming in. They have the hangar almost like cleaned out and stuff and ready to start that. So Brooke and David Miller are gonna be running that program, and it's a middle school program too, correct?
Correct.
And so they're gonna bring over middle schoolers and work on that program at the same time. So we'll have that going as well, which will be really great. Lots of middle school stuff. But middle school, like when we met, remember, they said middle school is the age you need to get them interested. By the time it gets to high school, it's too late. They already have their plans.
Yeah.
So that's what the focus has been, is getting middle schoolers up and in. Yay!
Yeah.
I love middle schoolers.
If you can handle them, I have 3 years of that at half.
But we have TY, he's a seasoned, he loves middle schoolers. So that's where we are with that.
My goodness.
Lots of stuff right now, so sorry it took so long for that.
All right, thank you.
Andrew?
yeah, airport development, Andrew, tell us.
So, I see some new faces here, I don't know that I tell everybody, but So I'm the guy that does all the grant applications and pay requests and so on and so forth. So Paul is kind of the PE, and I handle the money side for like 20 airports or so. So that's my role. And
That's the problem we have.
Yeah, we have the money problem, so glad you're here, Andrew.
yeah, today has been an interesting day. Today is an interesting day. Yeah, we had a meeting, and you guys are in good shape. I work with, like I said, 20 airports or so, and Mary Lynn over there, and Yvonne do a great job. There was very little work that we needed to do to kind of get ourselves on par. So hats off to them, and you guys are in good shape. So good.
Yeah, it took a little ways to get there, but we're there, and almost all of our grants are closed out. We have one open right now, and that's gonna get closed out soon, and then we will have no open grants, which is the first time, I think, literally almost ever.
Yeah, that gets complicated. It can get complicated, and some communities get really tangled up in the whole local share, and it becomes a mess. But you guys you're in good shape. Yeah. So anytime I've talked to Yvonne or Mary Lynn, they've always they kind of give me a puzzle, and I help kind of put it back together.
We're anxious to get this thing rolled out.
So, but they're doing a good job. So we only have a few items here. We do have a motion to pay for the independent fee estimate. Anytime you have an item for professional services that's over $100,000, you have to have a formal IFE, which means that you have an independent engineering firm take a look at it and make sure that your estimate or your professional fees are within limits. And so,
So it was approved already, remember not to exceed 3,500?
Yeah, that's
And so
right.
this came in for 3,000.
Yeah.
So we're just approving that payment.
yeah, so those go anywhere from $2,000 to $5,000 depending on how complex the professional services agreement is. But this one is a pretty standard 3,000. We see that a lot, so that'll need to be approved.
Can I get a motion to approve the IFE for $3,000?
I'll make a motion to approve the FAA required independent fee for 2022 grant, AIP 27, amount of $3,000.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
And also on that too, we did get the fee estimate already. It's been submitted over to BF&S from us, and that was from Foth, that company out of Kentucky, I believe they are. And so that's been submitted, and so they have that for the FAA.
Perfect.
Yeah, as soon as we get that grant, we'll put that 3,000 on there. You'll get it right back. So it's eligible. It's an eligible expense. So yeah, like we mentioned before, AIP 25 is the open grant, and the last draw we did, there is a milestone. You can take a grant up to 90%, so we went up to 88.4. You can see there, we kind of got stuck there because you can't do another pay request between 90 and 100% until it's closeout. But this grant in particular was issued as a multi-year, so there's another $74,000 that's issued by amendment letter from the FAA that should be coming any second. So we've got a batch of invoices that we went over with in the controller's office that as soon as we get that, we're going to turn that in, and you guys will be completely net zero on everything. So you guys are all caught up, so this is good news. So let's see. Just moving right along here, Leslie property, I think, Jessica, you mind pointing that out to me so I can see where it's at? I think it's
Yeah, sure.
up there.
It's right there.
So
Paul described it, but I was having a hard time visualizing.
here is their property, and so this is their parking lot. It's in that back corner over there. You can kind of see their building from here.
I was in the wrong spot.
Yeah, so this is the easement right here that we want this part of their drive, and then they're gonna get this part of the parking lot that is actually our property.
Gotcha. Yeah, and so Paul had mentioned to me that there really isn't a huge rush, other than the concern being it's fresh in everybody's head, so you should keep moving on completing that, just so nobody forgets and, the ball doesn't stop.
And we've already talked to RL Roofing, if you guys remember, about that swap, and the owner was totally on board with it. They just need to, Bill Nelson just needs to print up the paperwork and get it, over to everybody to take a look at and just get that wrapped up.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, and so regarding your overall project, it's kind of bittersweet news. The good news is that you guys have done all of your pre-coordination, so all your RPZ study's done, your runway length is done, it's on the ALP, your environmental's done, and your project is in queue. The problem we're experiencing is that it came into the queue after a couple of projects that are being funded right now. So, and the problem with the funding pot is that these projects are coming in so much over with the economy the way it is, with materials and labor, that they've had to push it. So they've got a new schedule, and you see, everybody should have this. You can see that the state has pushed the project back a little while here. I believe last time it was in 2023, maybe construction. But so for this year, we've got design that we're doing. Kind of the problem is that you can't finish a design and put it out to bid more than 2 years of anticipated construction. So we kind of have to time that a little bit. And so depending on where it falls, it's possible that this year we might have to scale back the design a little bit, or it's possible even a rollover. I don't know that Paul has discussed that, but it really isn't any advantage to get going on a design earlier than 2 years, certainly. So because things change, and then you go to bid it 2 years down the road, and it's not what you're
So what year are we looking at?
So you can see that they moved the utilities, which is your first portion there, down to 2025. And it cascades then into 26 and 27. So they're trying to work you in where they have the funding, and it's just an unfortunate thing. You can't really control the economy and how things fall. But the good news is that you guys are in queue. You just need to find the money to get to your turn. So I'd say remain optimistic and.
Yeah, because Paul he did tell me that there's a couple commercial service airports that had these like projects that just came up too, like emergency repair projects.
Letter of intents.
So that all of a sudden, like, and commercial service airports, of course, give all the money before GA airports. And so they got a huge chunk of the money. And then that came out even more than, what they originally thought the cost was going to be for those. But there are 3 runway extensions right now at GA airports that were all before ours. They had all their documents, everything was done before ours. They were in line before ours. And they're in the middle of their extension projects. So they were supposed to finish those up last year. They ran out of funding, so they couldn't. Then they were supposed to finish them up this year. They ran out of funding, so now they aren't. And so it's kind of this thing where everything's getting pushed back. But we are definitely the next in line. They definitely seem to be, going with that,
That's all we can do.
Yeah, and so
now that
we're
being
ready.
said, that was Paul's suggestion. It's a good one because you have a new PM, new program manager at the FAA. His name's Joe Wayman, and he may or may not have the full background on this. So I think it'd be advantageous of you this year to have a CIP meeting with him at the conference and just lay it out. This is the project. You may not have the background. Here's the importance of it, and it's a good project.
So the other thing is with that money for 2025, where it shows the 1,100 feet to 2,500 feet, that whole thing without improvements, that's our easement, the easement relocation, that's what that is. And the problem with that is the money that they're giving us is only half of what we're asking, what we need to do that part. So we need to have a CIP meeting to talk about that anyways, because we need the full amount. Half isn't gonna move the utilities.
Right.
And so that's another big issue that we really need to talk about at the CIP meeting, which is why we need one this year.
Yeah, I heard it said one time that there's God, railroads, and everything else. So your utility companies charge whatever they want. You really don't have a case. They charge what they do. They want their payments up front. It's kind of a difficult thing to do with their utilities. All right, next item, race grant. This is the old Tiger grant. And Jessica and I went over this just real quickly. Got a gal in our office, Katie England, who is a planner. She used to work for the state. She knows all the people that are involved in the process of approving projects. And she looked at Michigan City and she said, we need to get them in there. This is like perfect for their funding scheme.
Yeah, she said our project checks every box.
Every box.
Every box.
So there's 9.9 billion, and as far as we can tell, it's an 80% grant, unless you're in like a historically disadvantaged property according to them, but it doesn't appear that you are. So we'd have to figure out, your 20% local share on that if you're willing to pursue that and were successful on that, at least to get the portion of it. So I don't remember when the deadline is for apps, but Katie's working on that. So.
That's the bill grant.
So what amount are we looking, it's actually,
Yeah, well, that would be a 2023 grant we would submit for next year. Next spring, we would
Right.
submit the project. We would
Right.
submit the project.
whole thing?
the whole thing?
Full project,
Why not?
Yeah.
and see what happens.
We do have, we were successful in getting some supplemental funding, which is also, there's so many items out there now with bill and stimulus and normal AIP and discretionary. Now there's supplemental that goes out through 2023, but that's a separate discretionary pot. There's a chance that you would get supplemental. It just depends, if we talk to Joe Wayman and say this is a good candidate for supplemental, and they may already have that in queue, that's another potential funding stream for them. So it's not like it's over and done with. We just need to get creative with some funding schemes here.
So the top wall design is virtually complete then? I don't know if you've ever seen what that entailed.
Yeah,
As
so
far as
there's,
the meeting is concerned.
right, so the existing grant, I think, is gonna address the cut wall.
Yeah, because right here, that was the description. Extend runway 220,
Yeah.
phase 2, design only, cut and the cut wall for
Yeah,
index.
and there's different stages, because you can see that's part C, so
Yeah.
it's not quite all of the cut wall design, so we still have a chunk in this year's grant application. So, any questions on any of that? No, thank you. Maintenance building. It's your SRE building. So this bill money, bipartisan infrastructure law is what that stands for, but there is an allocated chunk of money. There's also another chunk of money for control towers and terminals, which is a competitive process, which you kind of see it spelled down below there. But I think the plan for the SRE was using some riverboat funds for a portion of it, and then use your bill allocated money, which is roughly $159,000 federal, for the balance of that. So they are accepting applications, but they have not issued any grants, pending some guidance from their legal department on some nuances with the program. There's Buy American, there's Davis-Bacon, there's some other things that may or may not apply to Bill. So they've kind of loosened it up a little bit, and I know it applies to, we're still waiting to hear on the revenue generating projects like hangars and field farms and so forth like that. It's possible that they will just relax all that stuff. So
Oh, wow.
Wow, that'd be excellent.
it would be. It's cutting some of the red tape that kind of slows some contractors down that otherwise wouldn't be willing to bid on a project. So
Do you think,
we're waiting to hear.
Man, we had that with our terminal building. Oh my gosh, this poor terminal building. When this was being built, it was a local company that actually won the award for this building. They were so in over their heads with all the federal
Yeah, it's
requirements.
something they don't normally.
I mean, they didn't deal with it at all. They ended up losing a lot of money, and it was,
And the disadvantage is
It was
that you lose
horrible.
bidders for airport work because the word hits the street with the contractors. And
It's a
like,
nightmare.
This is very difficult to do. But yeah, on our regular projects, they have to issue all the payroll weekly. We have to review it all and approve it all. It's a pain in the butt.
do you think that, you said that there was a special fund for terminal maintenance or additions or?
Yeah, so it's kind of loose now. So it's for rehabbing a place or building a new terminal. They even have GAs in there, general aviation airports. But the reality is that you're competing with the Lexingtons and the Evansvilles and the for some of this tower and terminal funding. And so,
We don't need much, we just need to build a pilot lounge.
so
That's where TY's gonna, I think he's gonna move
this is
in.
the first of 5
You're
years.
gonna move it in there.
This is the first of 5 years that you'll have this funding, and they'll issue a notice of funding opportunity each spring. And so they give you a deadline. It's a very simple application, but if you meet certain boxes, you meet certain criteria, then they'll request a full application.
So we did request
coming up.
last month, the board, or in March.
Okay.
The board did approve to add that in, you know what I mean, have Paul like
Yeah,
work on that,
each
so I
year.
know he is.
And if you're not successful the first year, you keep.
Yeah, you just keep going. So Paul is, I think, for spring of 2023,
Yeah.
putting a project together in there, for the terminal.
Okay.
Because there needs to be a plan and an estimate and all that stuff, and so.
And there's a form online, and we can see what the criteria are. I've done probably 7 or 8 of them, but they're going to look at ADA compliance, they're going to look at creation of jobs, they're going to look at efficiency, because this bill law has a lot of those kind of buzzwords in them. They're looking for projects that kind of fit their
Agenda.
Yeah, fit their kind of their thing there. Okay, so the other thing I'll mention on that is timing wise, right now by Indiana law, the contractor is bound to hold their bid for 60 days only. And so when you look at a project that is bid, let's say in the May, June timeframe, contractors will only hold their bid for 60 days until you need to request an extension. And they don't have to. They don't have to extend their bid. So every year we run into this thing where we have a project that has an apparent low bidder, but we have no funding. And you can't sign a notice to proceed unless you have funding. So we're trying to figure out on this bill money, when is this stuff actually going to fall? And so with regard to your SRE, what is the smartest time to put it on the street?
Because of course, they already did all the, we have the plan, we're ready to advertise our maintenance, our new maintenance building, SRE, snow removal equipment maintenance facility. So we are able to advertise that, and I have to go before the Board of Works, I have to ask permission to advertise it. But we don't want to advertise it twice. And so we're marrying the money that the council has approved for us to use for that building, and we're also marrying it with the bill money for this year, the 179. So combining both of those together is gonna do, because of course, like when we did the engineering estimate for this building, we went to the council, asked for the money, you guys said, yes, absolutely, Jessica, it's a great project. That's what they said. And so, they gave us the money for it, but the problem is that everything's gone up so much that the amount that you gave us is not gonna cover the whole building now. So we have to have additional funding, which is why we're using the bill funding to marry with that. So we need 2 pots of money to come together with 1 advertisement. So hopefully end of July is when we'll advertise it. And so then that September, letting of the BIL money will kind of come during the 60-day. So that's the plan.
So Paul is suggesting July.
End of July.
Because the FAA has done in the past a very good job of issuing grants in September.
Cool.
So that's kind of the time frame we're looking at. That bill, item 3 down there, bill, we kind of went through that.
Yeah.
So each year, your allocated money is roughly going to be 159. They recalculate that every fall based on your NIPIAS ranking. We don't normally see airports change much. If you dropped a bunch of based aircraft, that might affect that, or your operations really went down for some reason, then it might affect that. Or there are some airports even drop out of the program, or some get added. So, but for budget purposes, 159,000 is what you're going to get for the next 5 years.
And so with the resolution in front of the council, this is gonna be in there too, and we're gonna ask for approval for all 5 years, because it's a 5-year, multi-year grant. So we're gonna ask for approval for all 5 years for a 5% local match, which will be around $9,000. That's how we're gonna say it. is our 5% match.
Yeah.
Because he said, it could change a little bit, but it should be around $9,000. But at least, you know, it's the 5% matches, you know, the approval is approving the 5% match.
That's all I had.
Yeah, thank you.
Andrew, good job. Thanks for coming.
Absolutely.
They would definitely rather hear you than me talk about all that. I'm telling you right now.
I can't quite match your energy, but
How about the mowing? That's new business, under new business.
Mowing. Okay, so every year we have our agreement, and actually this last time we did a 2-year agreement with Russell, who does the mowing across the runway. Remember, he comes out, he mows for hay, takes all the hay away. We don't have to use our equipment over there, saves us time and money for fuel and all that stuff. So this year he contacted me, him and his son-in-law own like their farm kind of together. And so his son-in-law was gonna be the one that was gonna have the insurance in his name. So I reached out to Bill Nelson to find out, do we still have an agreement with Russell if the insurance is in the son-in-law's name? And he said, no. Whoever the insurance name is, that's the name we want on the agreement. We can't put them both on. We can only put the person that actually carries the insurance. So I said, okay. So I'm waiting for Russell to tell me whether the insurance is gonna be in his name or his son-in-law's or both their names, so I know who to actually put on this agreement. But it's the same 2 people that have been doing it for years, the last six years at least out here. So I'm hoping that you guys can approve the agreement, because I want them to cut before June, our next board meeting. So hopefully this agreement, nothing has changed in it, same agreement we've had every year. It just says, and we can, either party has a right to terminate the agreement 24 hours prior to notice. So I mean, I can be like, oh, this isn't gonna work, whatever, and cancel it if I need to, but that's right in here. And so hopefully we can do it again for another 2 years. Doesn't look like it's gonna affect our runway extension. The only reason we only did it for 2 years last year is because we were waiting on the scheduling for the runway extension. We didn't wanna have to tell them, sorry, this year isn't gonna work because, you know, we're in the middle of a project or something.
Motion for that.
Yeah, so we need a motion.
Motion that we approve this East Runway Agreement 2020-23.
I agree. I second it.
All in favor? We got it out anyway, you know, if for some
Oh,
reason
yeah.
they didn't get this worked out, but I can't see any reason they couldn't, because you could always put the son-in-law on there if he's on the insurance from now, is that right?
No, it was just Russell.
No.
He
Yeah.
called me and said, you know, that his son-in-law would be the one that would be on the insurance. So that's when I reached out, but it's the same, I mean, his son-in-law, they work together always. They were both out here together doing the work. So, Bill said it doesn't matter if it's him or his son-in-law, whoever actually. Or both, they could be both on the insurance. But whoever submits the insurance, whatever name that is in, that's the name on our agreement. That's the word.
Well, his insurance covers both of them.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Bill said that's good, but it doesn't necessarily need to, because you're allowed to have a worker. So it covers their workers, you know what I mean? But we are named as additional insured for whoever that is. So that's why our agreement would be with that specific person.
Okay, works for me.
Okay.
Okay. Let's see, public comment.
Claims docket.
Public comment, excuse me.
Let's not forget that. We have April, oh shoot, I didn't print out April's. I can go get April's. I sent it to you guys before, I don't know if you remember seeing it, but I wanted you guys to sign it. Yeah, they're upset, it's printing on 2 pages over there. So, that's May's for 48, 848, 49. Most of that is our load of, fuel that we purchased. And then April's was $4,919.65. I have that claims docket, I can print it out for you guys real quick, because I do need your signature, if you're okay with that.
Yep.
Real quick. I'll be so fast. You won't even know I'm gone.
So do we make a motion for that claim?
Yeah, she's gonna get this all one.
Everybody have a barbecue? Did you organize the barbecue outside for a post-meeting?
Absolutely. Can you eat venison?
We've been talking about 2 years ago. You're on 2020.
Like I'm permanently in the 70s, man.
I want to go back.
Right on, brother, right on. 22. Yeah.
Everything's coming back.
I'm in Queens, New York, 1974. I want to go back there.
It all does.
Oh, God. That's the only place I know.
Your records are back.
I was listening to vinyl last week. I still kept buying my dad's.
Oh, yeah, those things are good. The scratchy little.
Oh, yeah.
I love it.
I like that sound.
Burnham has vinyl now that.
Who's this? Oh, yeah.
They have, Rolf Feddersen. He brings out, it's something he does all over the place, so it's kind of fun.
Oh, that's the one. So what are you gonna do with your week? I got construction.
Prom is Friday.
Come help.
Yeah.
April.
Grandson's taking my daughter to Aviation. They went last year. Oh, the prom, yeah.
I distracted you with my
casino.
Yes, that's okay.
Yeah, which is nice.
Yeah, I'm doing my.
I just forgot to get to you.
Security over there, I was looking forward to it. Kids was great.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah.
Please, keep everybody safe.
I need to sign that. That's, Troy's agreement.
What was Lake Shore
That was
Mechanical?
for Lake Shore Mechanical, this was April.
Yeah.
Hangar heater repair.
Okay.
Our heater in here went out, so we only had one running this whole building. Normally wouldn't matter too much, but we have the jet truck in there, diesel and the tractor, they won't start if there's no heat. Because we don't have like the heaters on them, you know what I mean? Big diesels, so we need heat in the hangar.
Need to get those put on.
I don't think we can. No, we don't.
Like the plugs?
Yeah.
Plug them in the heater box?
You're right.
You'd be retrofitted.
I don't think they can. I mean, it's a tractor.
2022, Kurt, like 2020.
You got me going, and I put down,
You get them on airplanes.
5/22.
2 twos.
5/12/2022.
Hands here.
All right.
Yeah, exactly. You know, sevens, sixes.
I need a motion, a second for
That's
this.
exactly right. I was up in Alaska, so we had to plug it in every night.
So we need
But he
to.
put a blanket on top of
This
it too.
this is a different one, right?
Yeah, that's April.
This is it.
Yeah.
You forgot, you were flying the next day.
I read how those Alaskan pilots.
Will you sign this?
Actually, we grazed on.
This is Troy's agreement that you guys
Yeah, they're
approved
warming up.
at the March meeting.
Yeah, take it inside,
Yep.
dump it in there in the
We
morning.
never do that, but I got lucky.
So
I need a motion for
I make a motion that we accept the claims docket for, is that 48,848 and 49 cents.
Okay, for April 2?
No,
Or do you wanna do it
that was
separate?
just-
You want me to
Separate, probably.
Separate? Okay, that's fine.
So this is May.
Okay.
Okay, do I have a second for the May claims docket?
I second for the main,
All in
main
favor?
claim docket.
Aye. Motion carries. And then April's.
Then I make a motion for the claims docket for April, $4,919.65.
Second.
All in favor? Okay. Bill, did you have something?
I do, yeah. Greetings to the board. Bill Isley is my name. I keep 4 airplanes here, 3 pistons and 1 turboprop. And I got a radio background. And this AWAS here, there's something wrong with it. It's noisy at 10 miles. I don't know what kind of power they're running, 10 watts, 25 watts, but there's something wrong with the AWAS. And I guess the FAA checks these things, is that right?
Yep. And they check them quarterly. Do you have any issues?
I've had issues.
Okay.
Yeah, I've had issues. It's just very scratchy and
Well,
noisy.
it's noisy. Could be a low power, something wrong with the transmitter, could be an antenna issue. It's not hard to find out. You just put a wattmeter in line and see what's going on.
But you say outside of 10, it's okay?
No, you start hearing it at 10 miles. And
Noisy.
and it's noisy at 10 miles, right.
So when does it clear up?
Well, inside of 10 miles.
Oh, so so you're saying outside of 10 miles
Outside
is
of 10, you
scratchy?
can't hear it at all unless you're maybe at 25,000 feet or something. But coming in at, getting ready to land, you're at 1,500 feet and it's noisy. And it's not the radio, you know, the radios are all working.
Yeah, I thought it was my radio in my airplane.
It's not.
Yeah, so now,
Well, we can contact the FAA and have.
Yeah, I can,
Look into it.
I've already talked to Scott when you told me about that before. I did talk to Scott and he said that he'd check it out next time he's here. And they have to, it's tri-annually they come out. It's 3 times per year that they come out here. So he said that next time he came out, he would definitely check that out, because I did relay that already, so.
When did it start?
It's been doing it forever, actually.
So it doesn't matter what time of day or anything like that, it's just
No,
continuous?
I've been here about 12 years and it's always been like that. Now, of course, it reports into the system, but that's only hourly. You know, you get the data in the airplane on the ADSB, but if you happen to come in just after, or just before the last hour old, then it could have changed, especially by the lake here. Weather changes all the time.
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome.
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Dave?
Anybody else have any new business or public comment or anything?
So the AWAS issue, how do we follow up on that? We'll just,
Yeah, so Scott, when he comes back out to check it the next time, the FAA always meets him out here. He said that he would take a look at that issue because Bill brought it up to me, and so I let him know next time he's here to check it out.
Do they have a schedule or they just pop in?
They
within
just
3
pop in
months?
whenever he and the FAA tech are available at the same time, they just pop in. But he is our AWAS tech, he's like our tech service or whatever, and so he's got the contract with the FAA to check it and all that stuff, so.
Well, the bill says
It's been like
doing
that,
it
yeah,
forever,
correct.
so
It's been a long time. And I just looked it up, it's a class 3 AWAS, but I thought it doesn't say anything about the power. It just says what it reports, so a different types of.
I always thought those were 3 watt.
I have no idea.
how much? 3?
3.
it's very low.
It is low.
It's incredible.
I think they're required to broadcast out to 25 or 30 miles, that's it.
Yeah,
There's so many
free watts, you can only get it when you're really low. You can,
Right.
sorry, when you're really high.
Yeah.
But vertical, so it's,
Could be
How much
anything.
power do you think it is?
I think they're 3 watts.
It's not a
I
lot.
think a standard aircraft radio is 10.
It's not a lot.
It's not much. That's a complaint that I hear all the time.
Mhm.
Can't hear the AWAS or it's scratchy or.
Oh, good, I'm glad thank you for bringing that up,
it's
though.
very scratchy.
Yeah, 'cause
I thought every time you go on to 2, it increases, right? And then when you go up to 2.0, you hear that,
It might be like shielding of the antenna. It could be anything, a connection, it could be
and for
power
years,
interference.
I just dismissed it as,
Yeah, because those power lines too, those huge
My
power
radio.
lines.
Switch off.
my radio is.
But other airports have the same problem with their AWASs.
Yeah, that's a common complaint from pilots that they don't hear it far enough out, especially the Lear pilots. We're booking 200 knots.
So we could put a game antenna on that, we could change the antenna, that would help that.
I'll see if,
Probably wouldn't be legal, but
Yeah, I'd check with the tech and see if there's
yeah,
anything.
I'll see if there's anything that we can do for that. He said he was gonna check it out. He told me he
I'd
would.
like to go over with him if he's.
Sure, if you're here, I'll call you when he comes.
Okay.
He's in and out, you have it's at like a 3-hour window. But, cause they're here, and he does AWASs all over the state and other states.
Okay.
So it's a very tight window. But when he comes next time and he shows up here, I will definitely call you, Bill, and you
It's
can.
just, the thing is, that doesn't sound like he's checking something if it's every time he comes, 3 times a year, and he says everything's okay.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they have to,
Well, it's okay according to what is there. It's
standard.
functional, it's okay. So,
Yeah,
Yeah, he's not in the air. Check it.
Is there a way that we can send him an email or a text or something like that and see what he is scheduled to be in this area so we get maybe a little finer
I could
date
try,
for weeks?
yeah.
Okay.
his name's Scott.
I think he needs, Bill is a radio guy. I think he needs somebody with that background
Yeah.
to be in direct communication with him so that he doesn't just check in and put a check mark and go away, you know? So that would be really helpful to other pilots. So,
What I can do.
yeah.
Don't go out of town, it should be soon.
Didn't matter.
No Costa Rica trips, no Europe trips. Bill, you stay put, and I will call you when he gets here.
It didn't matter when I was flying my turbo prop, but I'm basic med now, so I have to hire somebody. Because it come in high, you know, you could hear it pretty good, but now I'm flying a piston airplane, so.
Very noisy.
Just take him up when he gets here and show him. Take him up for a ride and show him.
there you go.
You could.
That would be, yeah, well, you don't even have to.
We'll be a big guy in the back
You
too.
just do it on the ground, couldn't you?
Well, it says it's after 10 miles, it's scratchy.
Well, no,
Here,
yeah,
it'll be
even when
fine.
you're taxiing there, you could hear, I mean, it's,
You know, he said outside of 10, he wasn't hearing at all. When you get to 10, coming in,
you start hearing
That's when
the,
we first
hearing.
picked it up, it was about 10 miles.
Yeah, that's what we
With
call
noise.
AWAS.
right, but it's scratches.
Yeah,
It's on 10, yeah.
Then you gotta open the squelch, so it's more sensitive with the squelch open. It should be better than it is, I think.
I would like to see that problem resolved.
Me too.
All right.
Thank you.
I make a motion that we adjourn this meeting.
I second.
All in favor? Thank you, everybody.
All right.
Jessica, come prepared to